Hey there, I'm Mark, and I'm going to be sharing today a way that I like to dance, to make dances up on the spot through something called improvisation. This is a great way to dance literally anywhere you are. Actually, part of the dance is using what's around you. It's called Viewpoints, and much like other kinds of improvisation, you don't start completely without nothing. With Viewpoints, you have 9 things that you can use at your disposal, and I'm going to talk you through what each of them are, and then we're going to improvise a bit together. The way I like to think about Viewpoints is that it's kind of like a recipe. So let's say you're going to make spaghetti for dinner, right? You know you want to do spaghetti, you want to have that dance. You need certain ingredients at certain times to make the spaghetti, right? You need the pasta noodles, you need the sauce, you need boiling water, maybe you're going to have meat, so you need to get meat. And these different things are different ingredients that you need to create your meal. Similarly with Viewpoints, these are the different ingredients that we use to make a dance. And you can dash a little bit of this kind of movement here, dash a little bit here, and it sort of creates the meal that you're going to experience. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through these 9 viewpoints, and then I will give some time for us to improvise together. I'll call out different ones that you can use to add in any of the secret sauce you're thinking about adding. So to start, let's find a place in your room, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this video from. Find a place and just close your eyes. And I want you to stand pretty still with your arms at your side. So you're going to kind of get into a bit of a neutral place. We're going to start from neutral. And as you keep your eyes closed, I want you to imagine the floor where you are. And I want you to imagine now that it's covered in this grid. And this grid has straight lines coming out from your feet and has other lines that are intersecting at a 90-degree angle. So you've essentially made like graph paper on the floor. And when you open your eyes, you can start to move. And all that I want you to do is walk along these lines, making these 90-degree turns. Let me show you what that looks like. And I'm just going to start to move. And now I'm going to start to move only in these lines. Great, so as you keep moving in these lines, what I now want you to pay attention to is the first ingredient that we have to work with, or the first viewpoint, which is tempo, which is another way to say how fast or how slow you're moving. So as you keep walking in these straight lines and making these turns, start to play with how fast or how slow you do that. Maybe for one turn you're going to go whipping super fast, and for another you're going to turn very slowly, like you're made of ice. So just keep playing with your speed or your tempo, how fast or how slow you're moving as you make these turns. I'll join you. And you can also change it at any time. Change direction, and then change your speed. So you're moving very, very slowly. The second word is duration, or how long or how short you spend doing something. So you're paying attention not only to how fast or how slow you're moving, but also how long you spend doing any particular thing. We're going to play with the third viewpoint, which is your floor plan. So like I said, those lines that we were using to start on the floor, now instead of right angles in this grid system, what if they're all curves? What if they're all the lines that you make all swoop and weave? How would that change how your dance is going? Right, so now you're playing with how fast or how slow you're moving, and you're also playing with maybe curved lines along the floor, or maybe you're doing zigzags. Or maybe you're doing dotted lines. You can play around with that, play around with anything you can think of, just like what's your path along the floor? And now, as you keep going, as we're adding more ingredients to our pot, I want to add another one that I really love, which is the fourth viewpoint, which is gesture. So there are two kinds of gestures that you can use as you dance. The first kind is called behavioral gestures, and that's anything that you do normally when you're talking with somebody. If I see someone in person, I might give them a little salute, I might scratch my beard, I might scratch the back of my neck, I might shrug, I might shake my shoulders, anything that is kind of like a normal thing that you would do in the real world, that is a gesture. Gesture has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you raise your hand, you wave your hand a few times, and then you put it down. That's a complete gesture. The other kind is psychological gesture. Psychological gesture also has a beginning, middle, and end, but instead of it looking like anything you would see in your normal life, this is stuff that you're doing to communicate a feeling inside through your body. So for example, let's say that I wanted to share with you that I'm extremely happy. Right, so that was a little weird, right? You don't normally see that in real life, but that to me was going, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be doing this video. So now we're gonna keep the dance going. You can play with how fast or how slow you're moving. You can play with how long you stay doing any particular thing. You can play with how you move along the floor through this space. And then you can also think about gesture. You can add in a behavioral one or a more psychological one. Let's keep going. So that was gesture. And now for our fifth viewpoint, we're now going to look at something called spatial relationship. And this is how close or how far apart you are from other things in your room, which includes other people. So say you're dancing in the same room as your parents or a sibling or a friend. You can think about, what if we're going to dance really close to each other, or what if we're going to dance on opposite sides of the room? And this also applies to the other stuff in the room. So this couch over here that I have to work with, maybe I'm going to be close to that couch and dance close to it, or I'm going to dance far away, or I'm going to find some sweet spot in between. So think about your spatial relationship as you're continuing to dance. We're continuing to build this magical meal. We have tempo, we have duration, we have our floor plan, we have gesture, we have spatial relationship. Now we're going to add something that I'd like to consider like a seasoning or a spice, something that you can throw all over the place to make a really spicy dance, and that is repetition. Okay, so let's say that I've done this gesture and I'm continuing to dance, and then I decide, you know what, I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to do it again, and then I'm going to do it again. That's repetition. This can be a really fun, wonderful thing, especially if you don't know what to do next, if you're stuck in that moment of like, oh no, I'm trying to dance, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do and have fun, but I'm stuck, my brain just got froze. Just repeat something. Just repeat something. The next one I want to talk about is shape. So right now, most of the things we've been doing, I've been kind of standing up like a normal human being. Maybe I'll wiggle around a little bit, but I've been mostly standing like I normally stand. My shape is roughly in the position of a normal human. Arguably, yes, I am a normal human. Now we can play with the shape of our body. And maybe that's going to be that we're going to try and get really small, right? Maybe that's going to mean we're going to try and get really big. Or maybe that means we're going to try and distort parts of our body and not others. We're going to play with how tense or how loose different parts of our bodies are. We're going to play with, maybe we're going to want everything super high up, so our body's on a really high level, or maybe we want to play everything really low, so we're going to be down on the floor. So this is another chance to really go wild. You can play with all different kinds of things and just keep discovering what you like, what feels fun for you. Let's play with shape. Think of your body almost like it's a sculpture, and you're this molten wax that is changing with the heat. You can think about melting into different positions, and then maybe you become a flower and you're going to grow into other positions. Get nice and tall and big and huge. You can also remember to play with your tempo. How fast do you change your shape? How long do you do this for? What's your duration? Adding gesture, something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in general, play with your shape. Okay, another word I'm going to throw at you, another viewpoint, is going to be architecture. Okay, this is one of my favorites. This is why I did this in this room. This is one of my favorite rooms and where I'm staying. So architecture is kind of like spatial relationship at that. It involves what your distance, how close or far you are from other things in the room, but it also involves things like your senses. So right now there's sunlight coming in towards my face. I can hear the sound of birds chirping. There's this breeze blowing through this door. So I have a lot of other things in the room that I can work with, that I can take inspiration from. I can see in the window out behind the camera, I can see the swaying of the branches of the tree. So maybe I can start to use that swaying as something I can respond to in my environment, in the architecture of the space. Maybe I'm going to look at the lines of these windows, or I'm going to look at the circular shape of the couch. And I'm going to just take that as inspiration as I continue to dance. So let's keep playing with architecture. So team, we have a ton of different viewpoints at our disposal. I've talked about 8. There is one more that I want to talk about, and it's the one that is, I'd say, the one that I could talk all day about it, but really it's something that you have to kind of just jump in and experience. We're calling this one kinesthetic response, which is a fancy way of saying, what does your body want to do? If you hear a loud, let's say, crash all of a sudden, or I'm going to do a clap, you have some kind of reaction, right? I over-exaggerated it, but everyone who hears a sudden loud sound, their body has some kind of response to that sound. In terms of dance, this is really anything that your body says, you know what, this feels good, I like this. Or suddenly, all of a sudden, before you can think about it in your brain, your body just does it. So as you keep dancing, if something in, say, the music that you're listening to suddenly makes you want to move like that, or you bump up against a chair and all of a sudden that makes you kind of wobble, anything that you can suddenly get inspiration from that doesn't come from your mind but just comes from your body, the answer is always yes. Go for it. Incorporate those impulses into your dancing, because that can be a great way to come up with surprising things that will change your dance and make it that much juicier. So right there, I'm starting to lose my balance, which made me want to hop, And that hopping, I would say, would be my kinesthetic response. I just hit my foot on the back of this chair, and that's making me want to kind of air it out, like I have something kind of on my heel, and now I'm trying to air it out. So these are things that I can use repetition to return to later. I can imagine the birds that are kind of chirping and surrounding me right now as they're kind of taking over the whole space, and now I'm dancing with the birds, and maybe I'm going to slow it all down. Use tempo, think about my shape. Maybe I'm going to involve the architecture of this floor and kind of spread myself out over it. And maybe I'm going to think about how I can make a direct line towards you. So I'm going to use my floor plan. And maybe I'm going to wave to the camera and doing a little bit of behavioral gesture. And then I'm gonna do this a few times, psychological gesture, like, yeah, I'm doing it. And then I'm gonna come back down and see you and say, hey, I'm gonna go through each of the viewpoints one more time, and then I'm gonna leave some time for you to improvise. And as you improvise, I'm gonna call out different words while music is playing, which you can use as something that you can add to your improvisation. Cool? So first things first, viewpoints. It's a recipe. It's got these 9 ingredients. You can throw them in at any time. I did them in a particular order just so you could learn them, but whenever you want, throw one in, just like I did at the end there, and see how it impacts your dancing. The first one I talked about is tempo, how fast or how slow you move. Then there was duration, which is similar to tempo, but it's more how long do you spend doing it? Do you spend 20 minutes just doing one thing, or do you spend 20 seconds? Talk about floor plan. So floor plan is your path along the floor, path through the room. Then I talked about gesture, and gesture both could be behavioral, something that you do normally in the world, or more psychological, something that is expressing an internal feeling. Spatial relationship, so how close or how far you are to all the other things in the room. Then I talked about repetition, so you doing something over time, multiple times. I talked about shape, so how you can make different shapes with your body that express a little bit more than just you as a human just walking around. Then I talked about architecture, which is using all the different stuff in the room, using the light, using the sound, using the temperature, using all the different things that you see and how you can move in and around them. And then the last thing I talked about was kinesthetic response, or your body's impulse, what it wants to do naturally when something happens, something unexpected, something that causes a reaction. So now I'm going to play more music, and I'm going to call out a few different viewpoints for you to work with, and we'll see what you come up with. All right, take it away. So let's start with exploring tempo. Move any way you want. Let's keep that floor plan on a grid so you can make left or right turns at 90-degree angles and play with your tempo. Maybe you're going to go super fast. Maybe you're going to go super slow. Awesome. Now play with your shape. What happens if you grow to be 10,000 times bigger than you currently are? How can you take up the whole room with the giantness of your body? And keep dancing. But as you dance, over a very long duration, take as long as you can. I want you to take this huge, ginormous shape that you are, and I want you to slowly start to shrink it down so you become tiny and tiny and tiny until you're a little ladybug, a tiny little ladybug dancing through space. Take your time, even longer than you think. Push yourself to keep a duration longer than you want. Awesome. Okay, now change your tempo, change your speed, and change it again. Change your floor plan now. Move into any other kind of floor plan than those right angles, than that grid. Make a gesture. Make another gesture. Make a third gesture. Make a gesture. Make a gesture. Repeat the first gesture. Repeat the first gesture. Play with your architecture. Change your tempo. If you've been staying in a kind of like medium, try to go super fast or try to go super slow. Think about that kinesthetic response. What does your body want to do? Change your spatial relationship. Change how close or how far you are from something else in the room. Make a gesture. And slow everything down until you make your shape melt down onto the floor. And take a rest. Great job. Feel free to use this at any time to make your own dances with Viewpoints.